All right, welcome back to Stat 7 Sports. I am the Tane Kunas, and let's go over a review of the first 5 games of the LSU season. I was able to go to this first game, the first 3-game series against Indiana, where they went 2-1 on the series, won the first game 8-1, 7-4 game 2 on a doubleheader Saturday, and lost the following game 7-2 Sunday. Well, the second of the doubleheader on Saturday. Now you had Cole Henry, agent of the staff, second year on the team, was pretty much flawless with a few hiccups because everyone on the pitching staff had a 75-pitch limit. Being able to just give up 3 hits in 4 innings with 8 strikeouts, being able to, whenever you end up getting more and more strikeouts, the pitch count's going to go up. But coming into this following weekend against Eastern Kentucky, the pitch count's going to go up to 90, so they're going to have a little bit more of a leash on their end. Second game, you had Landon Marceau kind of struggle. 4 1/3 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. His velocity was about 3 to 4 mile hours below how it was last season. He was around the 92 to 95 range on his fastball. Instead, on Saturday, he was between 89 and 91, which is a bit concerning, but hopefully it's a first start, and the bullpen was able to kind of pick him up from that, and some timely offense made it to where they had a comfortable win at the end. Third game of the season, AJ Labus getting his first start since the 2017-2018 season. Had shoulder surgery last year, has first start, 75 pitches as well, 4 1/3 innings, 3 hits, 3 runs earned, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. Not bad for a first start on it, where at this point he's the one that could be, his spot as a number 3 starter could be in question, or more or less because there's so many options that are in the bullpen that have starting experience. But going 2-1 the first weekend, whenever pitching was supposed to be the strength and the offense was going to be the bigger question, being able to get 7 plus runs in the first 2 games, yes, getting shut down in the third game was a nice start, even though during the week was a bit more concerning. But the first game, wherever LSU going against Southern, 8-3. You had Mikael Hilliard, which was the only reliever on the roster that didn't pitch during the first 3-game series. He got the win on the season. He got the win on the start. But then you had, what was it? You had Brandon Kaminer start. One thing that LSU didn't have any point last year was a lefty in their entire rotation or bullpen. Now, Kaminer is a junior college guy. He came in this year. He's given up in 2 separate appearances. He's given up 3 runs, but none of them have been earned. There's been 3 errors in all of his appearances combined. But timely offense, and in the first 4 games having 6 home runs is a nice start for whenever the offense was bound to be the main issue. So for the pitching weekend, yeah, Marceau ended up struggling as his fastball velocity was down. He gave him an RBI triple early in the game, had a couple hard knocks against him later on, was only able to get through that 4 1/3. Now, bullpen for the weekend was, for the most part, very impressive. Brandon Kaminer, 1 2/3 innings, gave up 1 run, none earned, and just 1 walk. He gave up there was a pass ball. There was 1 wild pitch. There was an error on a bunt. There was a steal attempt, and the fact that they had a ground ball out that's scoring the guy. That's 1 run, but that was the only run that they gave up there that entire game. Then you had your consistent mainstays between Matthew Beck, a senior, 2 shutout innings. Aaron George, a freshman from last year, who's one of the few that had consistent time of the new people last year coming in as sophomores. Then Trent Vetmeyer, very solid first outing. Nick Storrs, is another one just like Labus. Has actually had a couple years of shoulder issues where it's like he's been slowly trying to work himself back. Between this outing and between his other outing Tuesday against Southern, where we went 3 scoreless innings, he was able to. He's been a very reliable bullpen piece for the first weekend and the first 2 midweek games, so it's nice. It's been nice to see. Then you have Devin Fontenot, most likely going to be the closer for the start of the season. 1 run, that's no big deal. Then Jaden Hill was hurt in the second half of the season last year. Very impressive out of the bullpen this time. 2 innings, one walk, 3 strikeouts. Was able to get his fastball up to 98 miles an hour. So could end up going back into the rotation if Labus or if Marceau end up struggling further on. But coming into this coming weekend, the pitching staff's going to stay pat as same for opening weekend. Then you have mostly everyone else in the bullpen who is either new to the bullpen or just struggled through the weekend, between Eric Walker, the only senior that struggled, Chase Costello, a sophomore who ended up kind of being forced into a role last year out of the bullpen, and a couple of spot starts midweek. And then you have a few freshmen between another lefty and Jacob Hasty, who just gave up 2 walks in a third of an inning. Then you had Matthew Gehrig, a true freshman, who ended up giving up a walk. Now, outside of that, from the first 3-game series, the whole team had a 3.33 ERA. If you're giving up 3 runs a game through an entire series, you're going to win most of them, regardless of how skilled the offense is. You just have to get a couple of knocks, especially from like half of the lineup that has experience. But without those 5 in the bullpen that are brand new, it's another run less a game. So everyone who has been on the staff last year outside of Kaminer was very effective. Pitching staff from the starters to the bullpen. So there's multiple options for if things go bad, if they need a quick hook on that. Now, going into the main issue for this team for the season coming in, the whole batting average for the entire team. For the weekend, you know what you're gonna, the ones you have to count on for this season, to where they're on the team last year or they have former college experience with some junior college ability. Cade Beloso batting .500 at first base. Saul Garza hit a homer in the first game and also hit a homer on the Tuesday start against Southern. Zach Mathis started at third. Has been very solid with the bat and solid in the field. They put him at shortstop whenever Hal Hughes had his defensive and offensive struggles. Daniel Cabrera as leading off at center field. He's not going to be the best fielder in that case, but Maneri likes to move things around before he ends up sticking with a set lineup and a set defense and a set pitching part of his pitching staff that he agrees with. Then Cade Doty was the only freshman that really kind of stood out, at least early on in the weekend. He's kind of struggled since really the first game, but overall with that, started the season in that 3-game period, 360, 3 homers, 10 RBIs. Now, everyone else, 4 for 36, 12 strikeouts, just 2 RBIs. Now, as I was saying earlier, even though Hal Hughes was at the bottom of the lineup, he's the only one outside of these 5 that started all 3 games in that opening series. And he only had 1 hit for the whole series, but he had 2 RBIs, 1 on a sac fly and 1 on an RBI single. But his position as a junior shortstop, especially for the fact that he had 2 errors in the first 2 games, it's not going to be staying in place, as Maneri ended up showing in the following 2 games, in the first 2 midweek games. Against Southern, And against Southern Illinois, they moved Zach Mathis to short, they moved Cade Doty to third base, and they moved Gavin Dugas to second. Now, the defensive infield is still definitely a work in progress because once you move Doty to third, a position he hadn't played yet as a true freshman, he made an error at third base and has really been struggling at the plate. In the following game against Nichols, he was back at second and had an error at second base. So his fielding's been in question since his offensive struggles as well. But Garza's been consistent. Mathis has been consistent. Beloso has been solid. Cabrera can get himself on. Now, outside of those four, it is kind of trying to piece everything else together for that. Like, those are mostly going to be the top four in a lineup, with Doty probably going to be up with the top five as well. Now, that leaves on it Garza's probably going to end up being the starting DH because Alex Milazzo has been a freshman that has impressed, especially in the midweek games, at catcher, defensively and offensively. And as a true freshman, he is considered a much better fielding defensive catcher than Garza. So he'll be starting at catcher. First base will be Beloso. Second base is still in question, probably between Doty and Dugas. Shortstop will probably be Mathis unless they try to move him back to third. And then more than likely, unless they want to add more defense on it, they might have, in that case, they'll put Hughes back at short, but they'll probably put either Doty or Dugas back at third. In the outfield, you have Cabrera is probably going to get Cabrera will probably be in right field. Wes Toops is a freshman that hasn't really gotten many plate appearances during these few games. He's going to start next week. And then Maurice Hampton, safety on the LSU football team, due to their national championship aspirations that happened in the 2019 season. He's going to kind of be behind on the bat, but because of his speed as a defensive back, he's a very strong defensive center fielder. So at this point, he'll likely be in the starting lineup, at least because of that and because of his speed overall. So, yeah, pitching in for the Southern game was also solid. Cameron, 2 unearned runs. Michaela Hilliard's one inning pitch. Nick Storrs, 3 innings, 3 strikeouts. Very solid. Matthew Beck, Chase Costello, they got through it perfectly fine. Now, the one that ended up making it a bit more troubling to see is the fact they ended up losing 2 Nichols to where the fact that they couldn't get any offense off of Nichols' lefty, whose last name is Terrio, but I cannot confirm or deny if it's any relation to Ryan Terrio. But for the fact that really the only part of the offense that ended up showing up was Zach Mathis, they only had 5 hits as a team, so really nothing to show offensively. Also for the fact that a couple of the pitchers that could end up being replacements for one of these stars in the rotation if they end up struggling. Eric Walker, having his experience in the College World Series as a freshman, has been kind of working himself back since he had that injury in that first start at Omaha. Aaron George, solid strikeout numbers. Good strikeout numbers for the game, but the biggest issue off of this game was the fact that as a team, they had 8 walks as a team, and 3 hit by batters. Yeah, hit 3 batters. Eric Walker had an error. So many free passes just end up kind of adding up to where that the defense, which at this point is average at best, maybe probably considered subpar, that can't really make up for the fact that the pitching staff is just giving up too many base runners. So the runs were going to end up coming back to get them, and the offense wasn't able to just back them up enough to be able to get to get enough on the Nichols pitching. Now, now going into this coming weekend, as I was saying, Monero is going to end up tinkering things around. The starting pitching rotation is going to be the exact same as the opening weekend. Cole Henry, he's probably going to be expected to go six, maybe 7 innings based off of how his stuff rolls off against Eastern Kentucky. Marceau and Levis, you have to hope that they can extend a bit further than their 4 1/3 innings, and the control for both of them can be a little better. And I don't know how much Levis is going to really grow on his velocity, but hopefully Marceau can build up closer to that 93, 94 without giving up any location. So, but overall, as an offense for a team, you have potentially a 6-pack of players right here that you could, from this first 5 games, you could see as 6 of the starting 9 players. Now, every one of the games so far, the bottom of the lineup has really done nothing. The bottom third of the order has been a no-show the entire time. Being able to just build them up to where it can be a little more consistent throughout, that would end up making this team dangerous as it gets into SEC play, especially when we end up going against some stronger teams with stronger pitching, teams who have aces who are going to go into the MLB drafts and become high picks. Now, the rest of the team outside of those between Beloso, Garza, Mathis, Cabrera, Doty, who has struggled lately, and Milazzo, they're 3 for 27. Everyone else, 8 for 60, 21 strikeouts. The 2 homers, it was one by Hayden Travinsky, a freshman DH / the third team catcher, and one from Gavin Duga, who we're hoping to end up develop further as a sophomore. Now, hopefully off of that and the development with the bullpen, being able to get it to build up their 7 consistent pitchers in the bullpen, that about 5 of them can end up going into rotation if necessary, and be able to build up the strength of the midweek starter. If it's going to be Labus, if it's going to be Jaden Hill, if it's going to be Eric Walker, there is many options that they can end up going to. So, with that being said, I hope that they're able to get some experience with some of these younger players. So, once they get into SEC play, they're not kind of starstruck and they don't feel overmatched. It's going to be nice whenever they end up going to Minute Maid Park in Houston, to where they end up playing some quality teams from the Big 12 area, a bunch of Texas teams there. But with that all being said, please like and subscribe and share this to anyone else that might be interested. I like doing this. I want to do this more. And the one thing that'll make it easier to get going is to know that y'all actually enjoy it. Now, with that being said, I am Contain Kunas. This is Stat 7 Sports, and I'll see y'all next time.